So, I'm guessing I should probably explain the penguins now, but before I get to that, hi, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to part 2 of Half-Payne. If you're watching this first, that's probably why you're very confused right now. You should probably go back and watch part 1. But anyway, the thing about the penguins is that bundled alongside the already pretty fun vanilla playthrough that you can do of Half-Payne, you've got variety modes. A variety of variety modes, in fact, and one of them so happens to include a map called Anomalous Penguins. What exactly do the penguins do during the course of Anomalous Penguins? They exist. That is pretty much all they do. They derp around, they squeak, they occasionally cause Black Mesa scientists to flinch in abject fear and horror at their presence, and right at the end, just as you turn on the anti-mass spectrometer, they get a little creepy. They just stop moving, completely quit whatever they were doing, being adorable and derpy and penguin-like, and just start staring at that beam. And if I told you what happens after it's fully activated, then, I think I'd be spoiling things. You're just gonna have to play the rest of Anomalous Penguins for yourself, but trust me, it's not gonna take you very long. A lot of these variety maps turn out to be pretty short, and for the most part you could regard them as just like mini chapters. But where things get a little bit more interesting is with the weaponry, where the penguins continue to play an interesting role. Let me introduce you to Penguin King mode. It swaps out the snarks for penguins and gives you an infinite supply of them. And if you so choose to, you could play through the entire game with this weapon. That's entirely the point of the mode. You get this and only this to play with, and as you can see, it is actually quite a devastating loadout for you to boast, because much like the snarks, those penguins are goddamn ravenous and woe betide anything that stands in their way. Unfortunately, I found that in certain parts of Half-Life, it does actually prevent you from effectively progressing, because you can't use these to trigger trip mines. And as far as I can tell, in this section, which is questionable ethics, you do need to trigger some trip mines in order to move ahead, which I believe the penguins are unable to do, which is a little bit of a shame, but still, it's very fun while it lasts. Speaking of fun, another interesting thing you can do while Penguin King mode is active is just see how many penguins you can spawn at any given time. The answer being quite a significant amount, but unfortunately, after a set number of seconds, the penguins do explode. I'm pretty sure there's a way to disable that. I'm just interested to see how far you could get before the penguins inevitably crash Half-Life. In a shocking turn of events, the other modes that are available for Half-Payne do not contain penguins, or at least I haven't looked hard enough to find penguins hidden within them. At least in this mode, you've got something that has a bit of a callback to the original Max Payne. In that game there was an additional mode called the New York Minute, and it gave you the standard playthrough of various levels, but you had a timer with a minute on it, as the name implies. You could increase the time by killing enemies, and your aim was to get to the end of the level before the timer hit 0. And that idea translated into Half-Life makes for a pretty intriguing style of gameplay. Sometimes you'd be actively avoiding certain confrontations with enemies during the course of Half-Life levels, but here they actively become a resource. Case in point with the snarks here, which give you an extra 5 seconds or 6 seconds sometimes per pop, and can give you a nice little advantage to the start of this particular section, which is named Forget About Freeman. Much like the other available modes here in Half-Payne, you can pick and choose which section of Half-Life you'd like to play these modes alongside, and each of them will offer their own particular challenges. You really have to expand your knowledge of enemy placement and where best to harvest them to get those extra seconds on the clock, but as of yet I have to shamefully admit that I haven't completed a single level of Black Mesa Minute as of yet, because it's actually pretty damn challenging. But even then, it's still a pretty enjoyable mode to keep coming back to. When it comes to the subject of the one-shot variety levels that you can play in Half-Payne, I've got the sneaking suspicion that they may have been influenced somewhat by the likes of Metal Gear Solid, specifically the VR Missions add-on. I can't exactly put my finger on why, maybe it's just a little subtle aesthetic choice, but I feel like the influence is strong enough for me to warrant mentioning it anyway. But in either case, it gives you a lot of interesting situations for you to play through, such as the target practice levels here, which are always quite enjoyable, if only for trying to beat your previous best time, and also giving you a few unique and escalatingly tricky situations to try and master. Particularly enjoyed this one with the Desert Eagle because it really did require a bit of reaction, timing, and understanding of how the section worked with these trapdoors dropping beneath you. So you gotta keep moving, you gotta keep aiming, but once you got those side-to-side moves mastered, the rest of it is cake. That's not to say that there aren't plenty of head scratches in here in terms of challenge. Versus 12 is a VR level that I just could not figure out for the life of me as of yet. So the challenge is you've got to kill all of the soldiers on the level. You have a variety of weapons in which to do it, but the kicker is you have an extremely limited amount of ammunition across all weapons. In most cases, only one bullet. The only exception to that would be the M16, which comes equipped with 2 grenades in its grenade launcher, but still, I've yet to figure out the solution to this one, and I'm guessing it's probably going to take a while if any of you decide to have a crack at it too. Now, one challenge that I found infuriating but conquered nevertheless was a challenge called Ascension. This one gives you 3 trip mines which you can stick to walls, and the idea is that you use them as platforms in order to reach the goal that is much higher up. As you can see, this required multiple attempts. Now, I'm not going to tell you how many resets I had to do before I got to my winning attempt. All I'll tell you is that it was more than 10, but my epiphany came when I realized that considering this is Half-Payne, I should be able to use at least some of my slow-mo diving capability, which I had found during the vanilla campaign to be quite useful at bridging slightly dodgy gaps, so I gave it a little bit of a Hail Mary, and what do you know, it was just enough to get me to the goal. I was very happy. One mode that quite surprised me when I jumped into it was a mode labeled Shooting Gallery, and in my experience, shooting galleries are fairly static, boring, straightforward affairs. You stand at the end of a long corridor and wait for targets to pop up and you shoot them. As you can see, that is very much not the case here. This turns the entire opening tram journey into a moving shooting gallery that grades you on score at the end, and honestly, at every turn I have just been tremendously impressed by the sheer creativity that's gone into the creation of all of these extra bits and bobs and modes that you can indulge in during the course of Half-Payne. And do you want to know the most amazing thing about all of this? What I've shown you so far isn't even the half of it. I'm not even kidding, you only have to crack out the main menu here to understand what I'm on about. I mean, in the Variety tab alone, you've got all of these entries. The ones in gold are the ones that I've actually managed to complete. Plenty more for me to go through. We've also got the speedrun tab, which I am in no way skilled at, because yes, it does involve bunny hopping. We've got main game weapon modifiers, which include entries such as Hobo with a Shotgun mode, which allows you to eat the gibs of your enemies, and I believe recharge health, while also dealing with drunk aim, which just sounds like an average Friday night out to me, if I'm going to be honest. And as you can see, the lists just go on and on and on. You could honestly lose yourself in all of these modes. And is that a super hot bootleg? I'm going to have to give that a go. Good grief, this has everything. I honestly don't know what else I expected. It's super hot. In Half-Life. By way of a Max Payne gameplay mod. And that guy's gonna get shot in the dick. It's a strange and wonderful world where things such as this are possible, isn't it? What a great time to be interested in mods. Honestly, at this point, I have no idea how I'm supposed to be ending this video, and all I can really tell you is that if you haven't already downloaded Half-Payne, then what are you even doing? Honestly, this mod has something for everyone. That is, unless you're entirely against the idea of shooting at things, in which case I'm sorry? Why are you even watching this video? But yes, it's well worth your time, even well beyond the point of getting bored with the vanilla campaign. There are almost endless lists of things here for you to sink your teeth into, including Chaos Mode, which is what I'm currently finishing on here, which loads in a randomized gameplay modifier every few seconds and can lead to some very, very intriguing results. Apparently this mod can also be paired with Twitch integration, meaning that if at any point in the future I chose to stream Half-Payne, my viewers could also vote on modifiers to screw around with what I'm doing. So that has potential. It really, really does. But yeah, this is a testament to creativity in modding. Just how far you can take an idea and run with it and mess with it and just have fun with it. It's fantastic. And if you're interested in giving it a whirl for yourself, which you should be, the link, as usual, is in the description below. While I'm at it, I'd like to give a great big thank you to my wonderful patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so very much for supporting the channel and for helping to make content like this possible. If you're interested in lending a hand yourself, maybe you'd like to see your name in the credits, or maybe you'd like to gain early access to my videos before anyone else. If that's the case, you'll find the link to my Patreon page also in the description below. Hopefully you've enjoyed these last few videos. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, and feel free to suggest any mods you'd like to see me cover in future editions of Mod Madness. This has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.